Have you ever wondered if we're living in the last days? It's a question that has captivated thinkers, theologians, and everyday people for centuries. The Bible, a book that has guided millions, is filled with prophecies about the end of the age. Today, we're going to embark on a journey through these ancient texts, not to spread fear, but to foster understanding and hope. What did the prophets of old really say about the world's final chapter? Let's find out together. First, let's turn to the words of Jesus himself in the Gospel of Matthew. Chapter 24, when his disciples asked him what the sign of his coming and of the end of the age would be, Jesus gave a detailed response. He spoke of wars and rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. He mentioned famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. Jesus called these the beginning of sorrows, like the first pains of childbirth, signaling that something new is on the horizon. Think about our modern world. We have instantaneous news, bringing reports of conflicts from across the globe right into our homes. We see geopolitical tensions rising and falling like the tides. We also witness the immense power of nature, from devastating earthquakes to widespread famines and new diseases. Jesus wasn't just predicting random events. He was painting a picture of a world in turmoil, a world groaning under pressure. He urged his followers not to be alarmed, but to be aware. But the signs don't stop there. Jesus also warned of deception. He said, "For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many." This points to a rise in false prophets and misleading ideologies. In an age of information overload, where anyone can have a platform, how do we discern truth from falsehood? This prophecy challenges us to be spiritually discerning, to anchor ourselves in solid truth rather than being swayed by every new and popular idea that comes along. The Apostle Paul adds another layer to this prophetic puzzle. In his second letter to Timothy, he describes the character of people in the last days. He writes that people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, and disobedient to parents. They'll be ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, and without self-control. They'll be lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Does this sound familiar? Paul describes a cultural shift away from godliness and towards self-centeredness. This isn't a judgment, but an observation foretold nearly 2,000 years ago. Now, let's talk about a major focal point of end times prophecy, Israel. Many prophets, like Ezekiel and Zechariah, spoke of the Jewish people being scattered across the earth and then, in the latter days, being gathered back to their homeland. The reestablishment of the nation of Israel in 1948 is seen by many Bible scholars as a monumental fulfillment of this prophecy. It's often called the super sign, the one event that sets the stage for all other end-time prophecies to unfold, regardless of your political views. The return of Israel as a nation is a historically undeniable event that aligns remarkably with ancient scriptures. Another key theme is the idea of a one-world system. The book of Daniel and the book of Revelation both speak of a powerful global entity that will rise in the last days. Daniel describes a final world empire, and Revelation speaks of a political and economic system that will demand allegiance from all people on earth. With our interconnected global economy, advancements in technology, and the push towards global governance for issues like climate change and health crises, the framework for such a system seems more plausible today than ever before in human history. Tied to this global system is the prophecy of a single, charismatic world leader, often referred to as the Antichrist. The Bible describes this figure as someone who will initially bring peace and solve many of the world's problems. He will be hailed as a savior, but his true nature will be revealed as he sets himself up against God and demands worship. This figure will implement what Revelation calls the mark of the beast, a system required for buying and selling. For centuries, people have speculated what this could be. But with today's technology, the concept of a cashless society and digital identification is no longer science fiction. But here's the most important part. The Bible's prophecies are not meant to leave us in a state of despair. In fact, it's the opposite. For every warning, there is a promise of hope. The central promise is the return of Jesus Christ. This isn't a secret, quiet return. The Bible describes it as a glorious and visible event. Jesus himself said that just as lightning flashes from the east to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. He will return to establish his kingdom. a kingdom of perfect justice, peace, and righteousness. This is the ultimate climax of the story. All the turmoil, the wars, the deception, it's all leading to a final resolution. The prophecies point to a day when all wrongs will be made right, when suffering will end, and when God will dwell with humanity. The book of Revelation concludes not with destruction, but with recreation. A new heaven and a new earth where there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. So, what do we do with all this information? The message of the prophets and of Jesus himself is simple. Be ready. It's a call to live with purpose, to love God and to love our neighbors. It's an encouragement to focus on what is eternal rather than what is temporary. It's not about building a bunker and hiding from the world. It's about engaging with the world with a sense of hope and urgency, sharing a message of redemption. Looking at the world through the lens of biblical prophecy can be incredibly faith-affirming. It suggests that history is not random, but is moving toward a divinely orchestrated conclusion. It gives meaning to the chaos and offers a rock-solid hope for the future. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of the most fascinating topics in the Bible. If this has sparked your curiosity or encouraged you in your faith, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might find it interesting. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration. What are your thoughts on these prophecies? Let's discuss them respectfully in the comments below. Until next time, stay watchful and full of hope.